Hello, everyone, and welcome to Day 7 of the 12 Days of Gatekeeper Media Christmas. If you've ever been interested on how we actually create our coverage, today I'll give you a little bit of insight in how that process starts, as well as some basic editing techniques, as well as any other little tips and tricks that I have for anyone starting out. All right, so we're going to jump in. Keep it pretty quick, pretty simple. Just give you a little bit of taste of kind of what it looks like inside the program, as well as just tips and tricks I might have for any of you out there if you are looking to start creating your own disc golf coverage. So the first and foremost, the most important thing is organization. Your project should kind of be an exact mirror of what your folder looks like on your hard drive. That's just very important in terms of just keeping things very organized, because it's very easy to get unorganized, especially once things start piling up. It's one thing you do one tournament, you do a second tournament, you start filming 5-6 years, those tournaments add up, and it could make it very challenging. So organization is first and foremost the most important thing, just with any media or anything like that, really. Something I definitely strive on, but I'm no master at it, that's for sure. And it's really hard to stay organized. The first thing I'm going to do is just bring in some of this footage. Before I do that, I just want to create a folder. This is Adobe Premiere Pro. That's where we do most of our editing. We use the Adobe Suite because it comes with After Effects, and with that, it's able to create graphics pretty easily. I'm just going to drag in my footage for round 1. So for round 1 for the 2023 Philly Open, we had single cam coverage. And I would say that's usually the best way to start. If you're looking to just jump in, go out there with your phone and film it single cam. And then from there, you can kind of learn certain editing techniques and certain ways to film to make up for not having a catch cam. And then you graduate into having a catch cam. Then you do a 2-camera setup. And then from there, you would then do a 3-camera setup if you added a reaction. And then go from there. But very, very basic, just single cam of this coverage here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything and I'm going to meta log it and basically add metadata and add a label to this coverage. It's not as important in this situation because we're only using one camera. When we do our multiple camera edits, this is really important because this is what syncs everything via timecode. But the reason why I still do it with single cam is it's going to put all of my footage on my timeline for me. So it just makes it a little easier. So I'm just going to go to meta logging real quick and add a camera label to this footage. Go right here. We do A for throw cam, B for catch cam, C for reaction cam. And it usually takes a second. All right, that's all I need from there. I'm just going to set my window back. And I'm going to grab all this footage, shift select, right click, then right down here, create multi-camera source sequence. And what that is going to do is create a sequence with multiple cameras in it. If they're labeled A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, anything like that, it will then layer those cameras. And in the beginning filming stage, if you synced those cameras properly, then you should have no problem and everything will then be synced via the internal clock on the cameras. This is really good for sports, anything like a podcast that has multiple cameras. Sitcoms are really big with this, so you can film the scene not as many times. You have multiple angles to cut to. But we're going to click right here, create single multicam sequence. It's very important. And then right here, it creates a sequence for us. Sequence composition is basically, that's your timeline. Again, very important to name stuff. 2023 Philly Open R1 base. We use base as one of our words within our organization because mastering would be with graphics and scores and things like that. Baseline or base would be just the nitty gritty and the actual editing of the video. I'm going to right click, open in timeline, and then we should have it all here. So this looks, yeah, this happens sometimes. We try to avoid this. This can happen if the cameras basically go over their 24-hour clock. You could see that the beginning of it is at the end, and then it resets to 0 on the time code because it's set to a 24-hour clock, the time code. So everything's set to 0, and then as you go, it will get to 24, and then it will reset back to 0. So that right there was just an instance of some of the coverage being all the way at the end of the timeline, and then the other coverage was actually at the beginning. Don't see that too often, so for you to see that, that's pretty funny. Stuff like that doesn't usually happen on our coverage, maybe with contractors or something like that, but it's not the end of the world. If it's multiple cameras, it could pose a problem, but no big deal. I just moved it real quick. And then now we have all of our footage on our timeline. So you can see it's a lot easier than just like dragging each one in, cutting it. I could have went through and watched this, set my in and out points, and then drag it in and do like an old style way of editing. It's just a nice way to just get everything on your timeline. From here with single cam, I guess the most important thing is to, when you're filming, is to make sure you get the shots and everything because you're the only angle. And I look at it as like, it's almost like theater where you're doing it like live in a sense. Like you only have that one shot to actually do it. And like if you mess up in that live take during that performance, you messed up. I kind of feel like that's what it's like with single cam, for just like an analogy here. Single cam feels like that, where with multiple cameras, you kind of have a bailout because someone else is also filming. So then it feels more like a movie where you're then able to pick and choose your best scene or your best take from that scene or your best angle or something like that. You don't have as much wiggle room. It's not like a now or never. So when you're out there filming single cam, it's like, this is what it's going to look like. So I put a lot of stress when I film single cam, and I put like that little extra effort just to make sure that it's pristine. So it all really comes into making sure it's filmed properly, and that could be a whole separate thing. This is more just getting the project started and everything. But yeah, that's very key, and just a quick little analogy to how I kind of see everything. I'm going to turn down this audio just a little bit, just so it's not blaring while I talk to you guys. So when starting, I guess the next biggest tip I would say is your goal when editing is to cut out all unnecessary, jerky movement and or just dead footage. We always say like trim the fat is kind of like a internal gatekeeper thing. So make sure you trim the fat. All this right here is kind of considered fat in our eyes. We don't want any of this. This is just kind of dead space. It's up to the editor, and that's where the kind of the creativity comes in, and being your own artist and figuring out your own flow. But you just kind of have to have intuition, what feels right when editing. So you can see I cut that beginning out, hits. And in this case, because it's single cam, I just kept it right on that shot. instead of cutting it away. So then there's sacrifices that you want to make. Do you keep this long take in here, or do you want to cut this shorter for the viewer? And I think that is the fun thing about editing disc golf coverage is you are doing, you can see right before the camera starts zooming back out, it's usually where you want to cut it. And then we don't want this in there. Traditionally, that's not great for the viewer. So we're just going to cut that out. And then I know right there was a good point to stop, so I made a cut, even though I might cut more. It looks like he's a quick player, so we're going to keep it going. And you can see not having a catch cam. We would cut to that catch cam. But with single cam, and this is where a lot of people start, it's all about flow. Let's make a cut there. But going back to the point I was making before I got into that, the filming of disc golf is so, and the editing side is so fun because every person and every player is different. They have different routines, and it's really about trying to make it kind of fit. It's kind of like Tetris in a way. You want to cut off the pieces that you don't want and get it to fit in the most smooth and coherent way possible. So that's kind of what the joy I find in editing disc golf coverage as an editor is trying to make that happen. Because when you're editing a movie or anything like that, things are very planned, where this is broadcasting, so you're capturing the moment. And then here with the editing, we're able to put it on a silver platter for the viewers in terms of how it should be viewed. And then that right there is just going to be a bunch of dead space. I'm going to hit delete, bring some more of coverage over. I'm a big scrubber. Personally, with my editing, I would say I wouldn't recommend that starting out. I've been editing for so long, disc golf specifically. I just know kind of where things need to be cut. I think watching it is very important for getting pacing. And I think over time and experience, it gets easier. But in the beginning, you really want to be watching it and just making sure you're getting a well-paced video, because it's very easy to like make it too jarring or too boring, too slow. If you're just scrubbing, when you're watching, you can actually see it in real time. That's a sick shot. Oh no. Dang, that was sick. I remember when that tree fell. Sedgley was a much different place before that storm. This shot turned out to be really good. It's the other cool thing about single cam is it's kind of like you're with the card, so sometimes perspective's off and you think it's a terrible shot, it's a great shot. Sometimes you think it's a great shot, it's a terrible shot. Just cool sometimes going up to the lie and seeing it. It's going to be about circle's edge. So you can see all this right here. It's a longer clip, so there's more footage. But we don't want all that unnecessary movement, and that's so important in how we make our coverage here at Gatekeeper, is you don't want this movement here. And I see it time and time again. It's very easy for smaller companies to leave a lot of this stuff in. And it's so important to cut all that out. Just for the viewer visually. It's jarring for them to actually see that. So you want to make sure. Same thing you kind of learn in design is like you want to compositionally make the viewer's eye move through the page as seamless as possible. It's kind of in the same way here. You want to have the viewer watch the video in the most seamless way possible so that they're not like, oh, that was weird, or that didn't feel right. So that it's like they don't even know that they're watching it because they're immersed in it. And that, again, is just the cool art side of things and the creativity behind video and why I love video so much. Both Derek and I are from video before disc golf. So, like, it's funny because a lot of people like love frisbee and love this and that, and like I've always loved sports and I've learned to love video, and that was so important in finding something that you enjoy doing. To be able to say that I am editing disc golf coverage, yeah, it's disc golf, that's great, but like I'm working within what I love, and that's video, as well as sports and golf. So it's so cool to have the opportunity to do this. I'm just very grateful. Just kind of going into a little more empathetic moment there, but so like right there, I waited until the camera finished its movement before cutting that. So it's all about, it's like an orchestrated dance, really, and that's kind of what we tell our cameramen when we're out there, because when you're out there filming, that in itself is a dance and a piece in its own. But it's the same thing with the editing side of things. It's all a dance and trying to find the best way or the next step so that you're not stepping on your partner's foot. Or in this case, if we had multiple camera angles, that would make a little more sense. Looks like he went OB here. Yeah, so he's grabbing that disc OB, I believe. Oh, that looks like it might be in, actually. So UDisc is really nice because it shows the like where people went out of bounds in their round. We don't have UDisc for this event, unfortunately. So normally we then would mark or we would label the clip a specific color. So that's something else with our workflow that we find very important. It goes back to that organizational thing, is we have like a color sheet and a key for how certain clips should be labeled, so that when it gets to the mastering stage, it just makes it a little easier for that person. Something else I did is, you can see I'm making really quick cuts. I set that up with a hotkey. So I would also advise, if you're a little more of a beginner, or if you're a little further along than a beginner and more of an intermediate stage, shortcuts and hotkeys and things like that can really help you out, especially if you're trying to get to like next day or anything like that. Adding shortcuts really, really sped that up for me. That was really a big game changer, aside from like the graphics and things like that. In terms of editing the baseline, once everything was timecode synced, and we were able to create multi-camera sequences, as well as when I really started implementing shortcuts and hotkeys, that's really what changed the game, I think. Took so much time off. So I usually try to let the person grab the disc out of the basket. I don't try to cut it before they actually grab their disc, unless it's like really, really long. If they like stopped and got their bag and then like dropped something, and then I would like crossfade or something like that. But I just think it's very important to allow the viewer to see that. I just think it gets very jarring otherwise. And that's another kind of small thing that I see in smaller channels is they usually will... Sorry, I'm just trying to time this out in my head. They'll just cut it early. So they would do something like this. They'd make it, and then it's like, boom, and then like make a cut here, and then go to like the next one. So then it would be like something like this, and then it like just doesn't feel as seamless or as organic or as natural. So that one's tough because he like literally walks towards the camera, so he's like on the camera for a very, very long time. But boom. So we can cut it early. Grabs it. And then do something like that. When in doubt, add a crossfade. Just like that. It fixes the problem. Don't be afraid to use crossfades. Sometimes you're forced into jarring moments. This is what we would call jump cut in the movie industry. See how it just jumps? It's very jarring. It just jumps because we're not changing the angle or perspective of the camera. The actual person in frame is not moving a lot. It's just a quick little jump to not like across the screen or anything like that. Simple crossfade just makes that a lot easier. So it's those little things that seem so easy to video are sometimes your best tools. So hole one's edited. It's pretty quick. I'm going to do another quick hole really quick here, not talk as much, just so you can see me at work, and then probably call it from there. Who am I kidding? I'm going to keep talking. Why else would I be here? Just kidding. This has to get edited anyway. Hole 2. Mr. Hansen flips one up. Drops in. Right before it starts zooming out again. Now we're going to grab it like right about there. Bam. Get rid of that. Yeah, so this episode might not be for everyone. If you made it this far, I would say you're probably interested in disc golf coverage in one way or another, or you're just a fan of disc golf and how it's created. If you... What was I going to say? If you do have any questions, or if you ever are interested in anything like related to just creating disc golf coverage, we do have a Discord, as well as a Facebook group. We have it's called Gatekeeper Mobile on Facebook. And then on our Discord, it should just be Gatekeeper Media. It's a public Discord. We do have a learning video tab in there where some people kind of post their own projects. Sometimes I'll go in there and give some tips and things like that. That's also a good spot to reach me if you do have any questions, because I'm always here to teach, and that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned to love over the years is teaching people the craft of creating disc golf coverage, but also creating video. I think video is such an important part to our culture and isn't going away anytime soon. So it's such a cool medium. And it's very, very fun to see the final projects, or the final products, I should say. But you can see I'm kind of cutting out their routines, trying to keep it quick. There's also 5 players on the card. That doesn't help. Throws everything off with graphics and everything. With baseline, it's not as important, but still, 5 people on a card never feels right. That is parked. Nice. Also, my knowledge of the game has gotten so much better from editing like the Pro Tour coverage and these amazing players. More so in the sense of like knowing how the disc flies. Like I can usually out of the hand kind of know where it's gonna go. Which is pretty cool. I mean, seeing the disc fly over and over and over and over again, especially from the best of the best, you kind of get a good idea. But no one's perfect. Everyone's like, oh, that's parked. And then they're 20 feet long and out of bounds. You know, we've all been there. So this is a nice short hole. So it's kind of getting close to the end here. We just have a couple putts. So I think this is a good time, if you're still here, to let you know that we do have a 50% off site-wide sale going on right now. Code 12 days in the checkout, and the discount code will give you that 50% off. We're running that sale, anything on our website. Looks like Nick almost went out of bounds here. But yeah, I definitely enjoy doing this for you guys, especially for the people who hang around and watch. I think starting in 2024, I definitely want to start. I might even do it this year once or twice. But go live, like on Twitch, and actually, damn, those guys were right on top of each other. But go live and actually do this process, but over a prolonged period. So edit this entire coverage, which will take 2 hours or something like that. I just think that would be a cool way to interact with anyone who is interested, getting things going in the chat, things like that. But yeah, very, very exciting stuff. Pretty easy, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, obviously the knowledge of the program and things like that take time, but I truly think anyone can edit disc golf coverage. It can be taught. It's very, very basic when it comes to video editing. So we have people like Nick, who were on the road, never really edited much, and has been doing editing like this for us, and even things more advanced than this. So that's like the really cool thing. It's really good introductory to video, especially with things like this, just a single camera. But you can see there, I kind of let that play out. I also think that's really important. It's about knowing those times when to let it play out, when to have it quicker. Because you have to remember, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be commentary over this. So letting it play out when they're putting lets them talk about the hole and things like that. But yeah, that is a quick little rundown of what we got going on here. I could sit here and do this again. It takes a couple hours. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, that actually is going to wrap it up. I feel like I don't know what the giveaway is going to be. I basically made this video and didn't think of what I was going to do for the giveaway. So let's actually, I'm just going to look right over here and grab the first disc I see. How's this? I think this is pretty cool. The 2023 Worlds. What do you think? Yeah, I think we could do this one. All right, 2023 Worlds. This is a culprit. And let's say for this giveaway, in the comments below, let us know if you were to work in the disc golf industry, what job would you want if it could be a lifetime job for you? Just put that in the comment. Let us know. We'll pick a winner. Pick this cool 2023 Worlds. Hopefully this is mine and not someone else's on the team or anything, but should be fine. But yeah, that's going to be it for everyone. So thank you so much for tuning into this quick little session here. I just wanted to show you a little bit of kind of the video editing side of our process and kind of the nitty gritty of what really creates our coverage and really what has pushed this brand to be where we're at now. So again, thank you so much for everything. Day 7 for 12 days of Gatekeeper Media Christmas. It's going to close out. See you next time.